Oh, you do?
My name is Butch Maslin. I'm alcoholic.
Hi, Butch! We love you, Butch! Lots and lots and lots of Butch!
Tell me there's no God. Tell me there's no God. We really and truly could stand up, say the Lord's Prayer, and end the meeting. Because we have witnessed the miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous in this past hour. I have never been prouder of being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous than I am tonight. You can always tell when you go to conferences where you're in strong Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon by the people who are in the room. That when you see a cross-section of sobriety, as we've just witnessed, from less right down to 1 day, and all of the sobriety in between that, that means that the Alcoholics Anonymous in this area is attractive. And that's why we have people from all different ages and times in sobriety here enjoying this thing together. It is probably just some of the finest Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm not saying that because I'm here. I don't need to blow smoke up your I say it because I mean it. I say it. I sat there with my eyes filled with tears when I watched enthusiasm like I have never experienced. It is refreshing. It is invigorating. You give a whole new meaning to the phrase in our book where we absolutely insist upon enjoying life. I am a guy that believes strongly in the big book Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm a guy who believes strongly in our 12 steps in our program of action, in our program of recovery. Believe it in the depth of my being. I'm a guy that believes that the book Alcoholics Anonymous was divinely inspired. But I sometimes think, so please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. You will, but anyway, you will. I sometimes think that we're getting awfully mechanical at times. We're doing a lot of studying and sometimes forget the power of fellowship. There is great power in this fellowship that is here. I did not get sober from the 12 steps. I recovered through the 12 steps. I got sober on strong fellowship. I believe that when that guy or gal that is brand new to Alcoholics Anonymous, an in-depth version, that young lady who got her first chip tonight, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. Welcome. I believe that when a young person such as that comes into this room, an in-depth version of step 4 doesn't mean a great deal to her tonight. But the love and the energy and the power that is in this room means a great, great deal. Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous, young lady. Welcome. I really could spend my time talking about what you have provided for me and given me this weekend. I really could. Maybe I might. Who knows? I'm up here. I guess I can do what I want within our traditions. But it is good to be in Wisconsin. I have a lot of friends in Wisconsin. I've made new friends in Wisconsin. I love coming here. I love your Alcoholics Anonymous. I have for many, many years. And it is so good to be back here. I watch what you have here, and it's attractive to me. And so I've loved being here. And I want to thank for all the service that you've provided. You know, I know you don't have any selfish alcoholics in Wisconsin. But we got a lot of them in Canada. A lot of selfish alcoholics in Canada. And I know you see, these things just don't happen. Somebody just didn't turn the switch and this weekend took place. There's been people and committees getting together all year long, planning and working on this. There is people that have given up their entire weekend to sit out at registration desks and in hospitality suites and in our literature rooms and our archive rooms who've given up their weekend. There are people that will be here after you and I have gone home that have done all of this work so that we could come here and enjoy this beautiful weekend together. I want to thank you from the very bottom of my heart for your service. I really and truly do. I have always been much more impressed by what I see you do rather than what I hear you say. I have always had the ability to sound better than I really am, including tonight. So I'm impressed by that, and it's just been absolutely incredible weekend. I've enjoyed the talks, Carla last night, and my dear new friend, our Al-Anon talk today. If you missed the Al-Anon meeting, I would encourage you to get the CD. It's about as fine a... It is as fine a talk of recovery as I have ever heard. I sit there and listen to an Al-Anon talk of recovery, and I at times cannot differentiate that I'm listening to an alcoholic or a non-alcoholic. I know that we talk an awful lot in Alcoholics Anonymous about this being a family illness, but sometimes our participation in those meetings doesn't stand up to what we're saying. Just saying. Just saying. And so I obviously happy to be here, and I really, truly am happy to be here. Because alcoholics don't always get where they're going. Drinking alcoholics seldom get where they're going. But sometimes even sober alcoholics don't get where they're going. And I want to share a quick story about that with you. Let me just tell you, first of all, there was a time in my life I was not allowed in the United States of America. Let me add, nor should I have been. They said, we have enough people like you here already. We don't need to import them. But I applied to the United States Department of Justice for a waiver that would allow me to come into your great country. And I love coming to the United States of America. I love your country. I love your enthusiasm. I love it. I love it. And so I had to apply for a waiver that would allow me to come in here. I have it in my suitcase. It's a beautiful piece of paper. Some of the boys here see it. It's about that big. United States Department of Justice has my name on it. Allows me to come into the USA on humanitarian grounds. I don't even know what that means. But I have it. And it's in my room. I have it right now. Every time I come here, I got to show it. And we have a little discussion. And the other thing, I don't know if any of you, but I from time to time can misplace things. So when I got that waiver, I made 25 photocopies. Just to be safe. So anyway, I'm going to a conference one time in Illinois. And the other thing is that when I come here, they want to know where I'm going. Now, they don't want to know that I'm going to Wisconsin. They don't want to know that I'm going to Eau Claire. They want to know precisely where I'm going. I don't know why, but they seem to want to know where I am. So anyway, I'm going to a conference in Illinois one time. And it's Illinois. And I like to come to the conference early. I fly early in the morning. I come here to take part. I don't come here to talk. I come here to be a part of the convention. And so anyway, I'm getting all my gear together, and I couldn't find my waiver. I said to my wife, I said, where's my waiver? Like it's her job, Marge, to know where my waiver is. She said, I don't know, it's wherever you've put it. I said, no, it's not, you've lost it. She said, take one of those photocopies and get going. You're going to miss your flight. So I got the photocopy, I get my beer, I drive to Pearson International Airport, and please don't misunderstand what I'm going to say. Our custom agents, our Homeland Security do a wonderful job protecting our borders. God bless those men and women. But I think when they go to Border Patrol School, they teach them how not to smile. Serious people. And so anyway, I get there, I got all my gear, I go up, I hand the guy my stuff, I give him the waiver, he looks at me, he says, what are you, a criminal? I said, well, perhaps you might have said that at one time. He said to me, he says, this is a photocopy. I said, yes, sir, the original's at home for safekeeping. Lies just fall out of my mouth. Just fall. Now, I don't need to think about it, it just comes rapid fire. I need to think about the truth, but lies just natural. He says to me, he says, you can't travel on a photocopy. He says, do you have your I-94 form? I pulled out a form. He says, that's the wrong form. I thought, this isn't shaping up well. He said, you go over there and you pull it, you got to fill out the right form, and you've got to go see somebody about this waiver because you cannot travel on a waiver, on a photocopy. I said, okay. So I go over, I fill out the form. And I think, I'm not going to Illinois today. But I got one of those keen alcoholic minds that we only hear about from alcoholics. You did not hear about the keen alcoholic mind at the Al-Anon meeting today, did you? No. No. Keen alcoholic mind. Peed in the dresser drawer. Keen thinking. Keen. So anyway, I wait till his line's full and I see a more gentle man like my friend Larry, and I go to his line. So I go, I give the guy the stuff again, and he looks at it. He didn't say anything about the photocopy, but he says to me, he said, so where are you going? I said, I'm going to Illinois. He says, what's your purpose of business? I said, I'm going to talk at a conference, Alcoholics Anonymous. He said to me, what address are you staying at? Oh, Jesus. I'd forgot to get the address. I said, I don't know. He said, you don't know where you're going? I said, no. I said, no. I don't. I said, but it's okay because somebody's going to pick me up at the airport and take me there. He says to me, who's picking you up at the airport? I said, I don't know. He said, let me get this straight. Somebody you don't know is picking you up, taking you somewhere you don't know where you're going. I said, yes, sir, that's right. He says to me, what did you say you're going to do again? I said, I'm going to talk at a conference, Alcoholics Anonymous. He says to me, what are you going to talk about? And before I could answer him, he holds up his hands and says, let me guess. You don't know. So I'm happy to be here tonight. My home group is the Three Legacy Group, Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm a group guy. I believe in the home group. I believe that the home group is the heartbeat of AA. I believe that. That's not podium banter. I believe it with all my being. The heartbeat of AA. I belong to a strong group, Alcoholics Anonymous. I used to say I belong to the best group in the world. I don't say that any longer. I find it arrogant of me. I belong to a strong group, Alcoholics Anonymous. I belong to a group where all three legacies are in place, where it's not just about personal recovery, where unity is there, where we operate under our 12 traditions, where we operate and function, where service is there, where we operate unity together as a group in service, where it's not just the same one or two individuals constantly doing all the work, but as a group we go to detoxes, as a group we go into treatment centers. We try to make sure that everybody that joins our group, new people that come into our group, get a job within our group so they can feel part of something for the very first time, many of them in their life. I belong to a group where there's enthusiasm in the room. As I said before, I believe enthusiasm is contagious. I belong to a group where there's people standing at that door when that new guy or new gal walk through that door for their very first time. Because as I said before, I believe an in-depth version of the steps doesn't mean anything to them. But a warm handshake, welcome, come in and sit here with us means a great, great deal. I belong to a group that has structure. I belong to a group that starts on time and finishes on time. I belong to a group where we know months in advance who's going to come and talk at our group so that we can be assured that that new young lady is going to hear a message of recovery. I belong to a group where those things are in place. And I'm a guy that believes, I truly believe, fellow alcoholics, that when a new guy or new gal walk into an environment such as that, where those things are in place, their chances of recovery become much greater than if they walk into a room where none of that's happening. So I believe in the home group. And if you ever happen to be in Canada on a Monday or Thursday night, we would love to have you at our home group. And I promise you, there will be people at that door to welcome you when you come in there. And I promise you, I hope much more than this, but I will guarantee you, you will leave that meeting feeling you have been in a warm, welcoming environment, a place that you would like to come back to. God, I believe in the home. I love group. I love home group. I love everything about AA, but there's something special about home group, isn't there? I don't walk in and float out the door, but I'll tell you, I go there and I feel at home. I believe that home group is to mean exactly that when I'm there, I feel at home. And so all of that means a great, great deal to me. Anyway, we better get going. I know you're here, most of you, for the dance. My wife wanted to bring that to my attention. They're not here to listen to you. They're there to dance. So talk quick and shut up. People we care about, I believe that our steps are to deflate our ego. That's what we need here. That is the problem of the alcoholic, self-centeredness, ego. And our steps are designed to deflate that ego. That's what our steps are do. But if you are new here to Alcoholics Tonight and haven't done your steps, or maybe not so new to Alcoholics Anonymous and have done your steps, you can count on your fellow members to deflate your ego for you. They will take care of that all by themselves. So anyway, what do we do? I was 25 years old, and my wife had thrown me out of our home. And I want to tell you that I loved her. I loved her as much as I was capable of loving at that time. It's important that I say that to you, as much as I was capable of loving at that time. She had thrown me out of our home. I had a new address every night. I lived in the stairwells of apartment buildings in downtown Toronto. I just went from building to building. I had a new address each night. And at nighttime, I was under that stairwell. In the daytime, I was like a rat in a sewer. Out on the streets looking to score, looking to scam, looking to rip somebody off to get the money I need to get to do the things I need to do. Excuse me, I hear people talk about AA luggage and Alcoholics Anonymous. Matching green garbage bags? Huh? I didn't have any AA luggage. Had the clothes on my back. Still had an ultra suede jacket, though. Going to be cool at any expense. Huh? I'm 25 years old, I'm living in stairwells, I got the clothes on my back, and nobody wants anything more to do with me. And let me add right now, nor should they. Nor should they. Because you see, if you're an alcoholic of my type, you're a user and a taker. I use and I take from everybody I come in contact with. Now, it doesn't always appear that way, because I want people to like me. I want people to like me. And so I'm the guy in the bar buying the drinks for everybody, passing the bag of powder around everybody's friend, good old Butch. The only reason I ever did anything so that you would like me, not because I care about you, I'm a user and a taker. And let me tell you who I use and take from most, the people who love me. The people who care about me. Because they love me so much they can't stop trying. One more time. This time it's going to work. And they keep giving and giving, and I keep taking and taking. And that's where I am. I'm 25 years old. I'm on stairwells. I got the clothes on my back, and no one wants anything more to do with me. I'm all jacked up one night. I'm in the East End of Toronto, nowhere to go, as I said. And my wife and I owned a home in what we call the Beaches in Toronto. It's down near the lakefront. And we had a screened-in porch in that a house and a couple of wicker couches on the porch. And I slipped in there. I thought I'll get a couple hours and get out before she wakes up. Well, I pass out, and I wake up to one of these. And I opened my eyes and looked, and there was that little gal that I loved. And she looked at me with disgust and pity. And she said, "Butch, you're a useless piece of scum, and you're never going to change. And if you cared anything about me at all, you'd get up and get out of here, and please don't ever come back, because I can't stomach to look at you." And I got up and I left there, and it was a hot summer day, and I'm hungover, and I'm dirty, and I'm dope sick. And I walked down to what we call the boardwalk down on the lakefront. And I'm sitting down there on a park bench in that condition. And over where you guys are sitting, there was another park bench, and there was a little boy, 5 or 6 years old, sitting there eating a popsicle. And I looked over at that little boy, and you know what I thought to myself? Wish I had a dime for a popsicle. The big shot, the dope dealer, everybody's friend sitting on a park bench wishing he had a dime for a popsicle. And the thought came to my head as clear as I'm thinking right now. I knew at that moment that that park bench and places like it was where I was going back to every single time. And I knew it beyond a shadow of a doubt. I've always been a hustler and a talker, a scammer. I knew I'd put a deal together. I'd come up with some cash. I always did. But I knew at that moment that that park bench and places just like it was where I was going to go back to. I knew it beyond a shadow of a doubt. I was 25 years old. I came to Alcoholics Anonymous when I was 33. I had 8 more years on those streets. And I will not bore you tonight with a horror story, because I don't believe it would serve any purpose. You see, if you're an alcoholic of my type, you already know. It never gets better. It always gets worse. And I had 8 more years living that life and running those streets. I came to Alcoholics Anonymous when I was 33 years old, and I joined a group. And I got a sponsor. And I did the things you guys told me to do. Forget this suggested crap, the stuff you told me to do. You know where I was a number of years ago? I was in Rome, Italy. Rome, Italy. Standing in the Sistine Chapel, looking at the paintings of Michelangelo from hundreds of years before, my wife standing beside me. And the tears started to roll down my face. And I thought of that guy sitting on the park bench wishing he had a dime for a popsicle. It is a long way from that park bench to the Sistine Chapel in Rome. It is a long way from where we sit tonight. Many of us here tonight, the dredges of society. Many of us here tonight, our own families didn't want us around any longer. Yet here we sit this weekend and tonight, members of Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon, living good, rich, full, productive lives. How do we get from where we were to where we sit tonight? How does that happen for people like you and I? Because it's not supposed to. But you know how it happens, don't you? And it only happens one way, only one way, and that is through the grace of God. Through a loving God that you have introduced me to, through a fellowship called Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps to Alcoholics Anonymous, I will be forever grateful for what you have given to me. I could never begin to pay you back. Never begin. I started to drink at a young age. I hear people talk about dysfunctional families. Was my family dysfunctional? I have no idea. Let me just tell you, it wasn't the Cleaver residence in my home. I understand a lot of you here don't know what the Cleaver residence was. I'm sure they got something like it on TV today. I don't know. I stopped watching that goofy thing. I stopped thinking. But I'll tell you something. My home, there was a lot of parties in my home. There was always a party in my home. A lot of drinking in my home. Always on the weekend there was a party. As a little boy, they'd let me play bartender. I could take them the beers and take away, and they'd let me have swigs, and they'd say, "Isn't he cute?" And I loved that attention. So I started to drink when I was 4 years old. Now, I wasn't a daily drinker when I was 4. My allowance wouldn't allow it. I sought out alcohol. I was maybe 12 years old. I got a guy to go into a liquor store, get us a couple bottles of wine. I was going to be a wine connoisseur. 2 bottles of 4 Aces. I think that's comparable to what you call Thunderbird in your country. And let me tell you, any wine I ever drank had a cap, not a cork. We drank that wine, got drunk, puked, and passed out, and that was the end of my social drinking. I don't know if you people have this here in the United States or not, but I'll tell you, I go to some of these discussion meetings at home, and I hear people say things like they came to Alcoholics Anonymous hoping Alcoholics Anonymous was going to teach them how to be a social drinker. You hear that here? Came to Alcoholics Anonymous hoping Alcoholics Anonymous was going to help them be a social drinker. Let me tell you tonight, I didn't want to be a social drinker when I drank. I don't want to be a social drinker tonight. I don't particularly like social drinkers. I find them weird. Weird. You ever watch a social drinker drink? They let the ice melt in their glass. That's sick drinking. That's alcohol abuse. You ever drink with a social drinker? That's enough to make you puke. Isn't it? You're having a few scoots. Would you like another one? Oh, no thank you. I'm starting to feel it. Really? I thought that's when you put it in overdrive. My wife's a social drinker. The boys met my wife just the other day. Shane and Nicholas and that. Beautiful, my beautiful wife. She's at home right now praying for me. Or for you. But my wife's a social drink. This is true. I'm standing here. It's true. Well, I hope my whole story is true, but this part is for sure. The rest we make up as we go along. It's the beauty of talking out of town. These damn tapes do me in, though. But my wife's a social drinker. And a little while ago, we were at home one night. We have an open concept in our home. And I look over in the kitchen, and my wife's there. She's got a bottle of wine on the counter with a funnel in it. I thought, what's she doing with that funnel? So I watched. And then she goes and takes a glass of wine and starts pouring it into the funnel. I said to her, what are you doing? She says, I put too much in the glass. I said, don't you ever do that again. I will divorce you. Social drinkers. I'm a barroom drinker. I don't identify with closet alcoholics. Doesn't mean they're not alcoholics, just drank differently than me. You know those people? They get the bottle, go lock the door, put on the country western music? I don't identify. I'm a barroom drinker. I love bars. I love them. I like opening the door to a bar. The smoke would billow out, the tinkle of glass, the smell of stale urine. I love it. I love it. I like neon. I like neon. I liked it when I was drinking. I still like neon. That's why I stay out of those casinos. They're not good for guys like me. And I got to tell you, I thank God I never tried to get sober in the United States of America. I don't know if I'd have made it. God, I love to drink in your country. I love drinking here. You got many more of them here than we got at home. I call them juke joints. You know those divey, scuzzy little rat hole bars, huh? You got some right here in town. I saw them. Oh, I saw them. I feel good driving by them. Huh? I love them. Those scuzzy little joints with a neon sign says cocktails. Oh. I went to an AA thing a number of years ago in Pennsylvania. I decided to drive. I'm driving there. My wife came with me. I'm going through this little town in the middle of nowhere. I'm driving down the main street of the town, and I hammer on the brakes to my car. I start backing my car up. My wife said to me, Butch, she said, what are you doing? I said, I got to see this again. And gang, I'm telling you, there it was. This divey, scuzzy little rat hole joint had a neon sign. Said, stop for one, stay till one. Oh! If I'd have been drinking, I'd have had that tattooed on me. Beautiful work of art. I'm not going to talk any more about my drinking tonight other than to quickly share what drinking does for an alcoholic of my type. It is important that we talk about our drinking in Alcoholics Anonymous for the purpose of identification. It is the greatest tool that we have in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's what makes Alcoholics Anonymous work. One alcoholic identifying with another alcoholic. That's why Alcoholics Anonymous work for alcoholics. Other programs work for other problems. We have to have identification. But I've come to believe in Alcoholics Anonymous, it doesn't matter if I'm drinking Dom Perignon or Aqua Shave. It doesn't matter if I'm drinking in the Fairmont Hotel or under a bridge in a box. It's what drinking does for me that's important, and that's what I quickly want to share with you, particularly for your folks that are new tonight, of what drinking does for an alcoholic of my type. And the things that I'm going to share with you, I did not know this when it was happening. I did not know this as it took place. I discovered this in inventory. I discovered this as you took me through an inventory back through my life and helped me see my life honestly for the very first time. But as I look back today, I remember being a young boy in school, I don't know, 10, 11 years old, and I would be in a classroom like this. There'd be a teacher at the front of the room, and she'd ask a question. And she'd start looking around the room to see who she was going to ask to answer that question, and my head would go down like this. Oh, Jesus, don't let her ask me. I knew if she made eye contact with me, she's going to ask me to answer the question, and I don't want to answer the question. It don't even matter if I know the answer to the question, I don't want to answer the question. When I went to school, we used to have to do book report. Get up in front of a whole classroom full of kids like this? Oh, no good. No good. I get up in the morning, I'd say, Ma, I've been puking all night. I'm sick. I can't go to school today, Ma. Please don't make me go. I'm too sick to go. Because I want to tell you something. I would be absolutely terrified at the thought of getting up in front of that classroom full of kids. Every decision I ever made in my life was based on fear. Most of it unfounded and ungrounded, but fear. Where I go, what I do. I don't know about any of you guys, but I every now and then would get goofy. I'd go on about a 5-day run. I'd come home on a Sunday. I'd been gone for 5 days. My wife would be waiting there. I'd say, sweetheart, that's it. That's it. No more. No, and I know I said it last week, but this time, no, this time, no more. I swear on my ma's life, I'm never having another drink of whiskey as long as I live. That's Sunday. I'd wake up Monday. I'd think to myself, I shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have said that. I'd have to go to a wedding that following Saturday. You ever go to a wedding sober? That's a bad deal. That is a bad deal. I would be at that church sweating thinking about that reception that's going to start in 3 hours. I'm back at that reception. I don't have anything in me, and I'm telling you something. My hands are sweaty. I got a knot in the pit of my gut. I feel awkward and out of place, and it is just horrible. And I have to do one of two things. I got to get over to that bar and get a couple drinks into me, or I got to get out of there because I can't stand the way I feel. Every decision I make is based on that fear. Who I hang out with, where I go, how I dress, how I talk, everything is based on that. You want to know what kills an alcoholic like me? I don't even know I'm afraid. I think I'm afraid of nothing, and I'm afraid of everything. And I don't even know it. We talk a lot, again, in these topic meetings. Let's discuss resentments tonight. Huh? I prefer to call it hate. Hate. I know you're not that sick in Wisconsin, but in Canada we are. Hate. I'm the type of alcoholic that's driving his car. Huh? I'm at a red light and I'm on the nod by now. And that light would turn green and the guy behind me lays on his horn. Whoa. Whoa. I almost go through the roof of my car. I want to get out of my car, go back there, open the door, drag him out by his throat, take a crowbar and crack his skull open. I know some of you spiritual giants don't think thoughts like that, but I do. I'm not talking anger management here. I'm talking rage. I'm talking a white rage. I'm talking the kind of rage that I don't have 10 minutes before and I don't have 10 minutes after. But I have a rage inside of me that comes out every now and then, and I can't control it. And I say things to people or do things to people I never wanted to say or do. And let me tell you who takes the brunt of my rage. You see, I'm a guy who's constantly seeking approval out there. So the people who take the brunt of my rage, it happens behind closed doors. It's the people who love me and care about me that take the brunt of my anger. Lonely. I'm 25 years old. I'm staying at a subway platform in downtown Toronto on a Friday night, all jacked up, and a train pulled up and the doors opened and a young couple my age got off that train holding hands, and they walked off into the night laughing and smiling. And I saw that couple, and God, I felt sad. I thought, why can't I be like those people? Why has all this trouble got to keep happening in my life time and time again? I remember walking through a nice residential area on a warm summer's night. You get that nice August night and it's just getting dark and a warm breeze. And I'd walk down a street and I'd see the nice homes. And I'd see the television on inside and the family in there. And I feel like crying. Why can't I just have a nice home and a family like other people? Why has all the crap got to keep happening time and time again? Guys, from as long as I can ever remember, I was restless, irritable, and discontented. If I was at this bar, I'd say, drink up, let's go over to that bar. If we're at this party, I'd say, drink up, let's go down to the other party. If I'm married to you, I should be married to her. Never quite right. And I don't know about you guys, but I'll tell you something. I get one of those double vodkas or whatever I'm doing that day. It was like this. I don't know. Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know if you remember it or not. Here, I'll give you one more. Here. did that in the meeting one night. 2 guys get up and left. You should see when I do that at Detox. Oh, they're on the ceiling. It's beautiful. Beautiful. But let me tell you something. I have 2 or 3 of those double vodkas, huh? And I now walk into that wedding like I own the joint. And I am moving and grooving. And I'm talking to the ladies, and I'm sitting with my buddies, and we're snorting and drinking and carrying on. And at that moment, everything in my life is absolutely perfect. And the world is a much better looking place. And I get an immediate sense of ease and comfort. And the sweaty hands are gone, and the knot in my gut goes away, the rage subsides, the vanish is gone, the loneliness is gone, and I get that ease and comfort. And that is why I drink whiskey, because I like the effects produced by it. But I am an alcoholic. Something happens to me that only happens to 1 out of every 10 people that drink it, called a phenomenon of craving. And I'd start drinking, and I couldn't seem to stop, even when I wanted to. I'd end up drinking 60 ounces of vodka, and I'd smash up my car. I go out after work for a few beers with my friend Nicholas. I go on a 5-day bender. I get fired from my job. I go out for a few beers with my friend Bruce. I end up in Alaska, come home 3 months later. My wife's leaving. I'm out there drinking, partying, carrying on. I don't want to stop. I got no money, so I'm stealing yours, and now I go to jail. And what everybody focused on in my life was crashed cars, broken marriages, lost jobs, going to jail. We looked at drinking. We never looked at alcoholism. And people told me from the time I was 18 years old, Butch, if you just quit drinking whiskey and sticking needles in your arms, kid, you'd be all right. And there was times I wasn't drinking whiskey and sticking needles in my arms, and guess what? I wasn't all right. As a matter of fact, I'm crazier sober than I ever was when I drank. But all those well-meaning people could see was that when I drank, the trouble that followed. So naturally, those well-meaning people said, just stop drinking, and you'll be okay. But those well-meaning people didn't understand how I feel when I'm sober. How could they know? I didn't know. I would love to stand up here tonight, tell you I woke up one morning, HFC Finance was dying to lend me money, work was thinking of promoting me, and my wife was sending me flowers. And I thought, I think I'll join AA today. Huh? Every now and then I hear some moron from the front of one of these rooms say things like, if you're not here for the right reasons, you might as well drink. And every now and then I'd like to get that tire iron back out. The right reasons? Did you come to Alcoholics Anonymous for the right reasons? I come to Alcoholics Anonymous because I had nowhere else to go. One more time, my boss called me into work on a Tuesday. He said, Butch, you're a hard worker. I said, well, thank you. He said, but you're not here much. Picky. He said, you think you might have a problem with alcohol? I said, no, but I know what the problem is. He said, maybe you'd share that with me. I said, it's my health. He said, really? I said, yes. Now, granted, my poor health may have something to do with my drinking. I'm going to quit drinking. My health's going to get better. Everyone's going to be okay. He said, you think you might need some help quitting drinking? I said, no, I'm just going to quit. Got up and left his office. Was to find out later his wife had been a member of Alcoholics Anonymous for many years. Can you imagine the chuckle he had as I left? Huh? Oh, he's just going to quit. That was Tuesday. I woke up Thursday in another town drunk. I didn't keep him waiting long. And for whatever that reason, that morning I woke up, I knew the jig was up. You know what I mean, Les? I just knew this time. I'd used all the lies. Alcoholics are liars. I don't know what that's about, but I'll lie when the truth would serve me better. Huh? I'm a pathological liar. I'm the type of alcoholic that goes out and plays golf all by himself and cheats on the scorecard. I do. That's not the best part. At the end, I look at the card and go, good game, Butch, good game. So I've used all the lies. I know I'm in trouble. I know I got to come up with something good. I had a few tequilas. I turned my mind to it. And I thought, I know what I'll tell them. I'm alcoholic and I'm going to go to AA. And that is how I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. And for anybody here tonight who's new, we couldn't care less why you're here. We're just glad to see you. We're just glad to see you. And maybe, by the grace of God, something someone will say, something you'll hear, something you'll read, and the miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous or Al-Anon can happen in your life, and you can go on to live a rich, full, productive life like so many men and women here have been able to do. Just keep coming. Just keep coming. And I have been a blessed man since the day I come to Alcoholics Anonymous. Blessed man. Deep, deep love in my heart for the old-timers. Deep love. Men and women who've been coming for 20 and 30 and 40 years, who've made sacrifices and commitments to Alcoholics Anonymous so it'd be here for a guy like me and that young lady for her first meeting. I love them from the bottom of my heart. And if you are new to Alcoholics Anonymous, I would strongly urge you to get close to these men and women and learn from their experience, because we won't have them with us forever. And I had some giants. My sponsor was an old-timer in Alcoholics Anonymous. My sponsor came to Alcoholics Anonymous on July the 17th, 1958, and was an active member of Alcoholics Anonymous until the day he died on June the 10th, 2004. And that man and I were about as close as two human beings can possibly be. I loved that man with all my heart. I loved him with every bit of my being. And I thank God for the fact, I thank God. I've heard people in Alcoholics Anonymous say you should never put people on pedestals. Well, you do what you need to do. But let me tell you something. I have some people on pedestals. Giants in our programs. Giants. Never for a moment have I lost sight of their humanities. Do you want to know the greatest gift my sponsor, Bobby Dobson, ever gave me? The greatest thing. It wasn't some profound thing he pulled out of the book, some divine spiritual wisdom he laid on me. The greatest gift my sponsor ever gave me was he allowed me to see his warts. He allowed me to see him get afraid. He allowed me to see him get angry. He allowed me to see him get selfish. He allowed me to see him get lustful. He allowed me to see all of him. Because if he hadn't, and you don't continue to, I will never measure up. We are much more brothers and sisters in our defects than we are in our virtues, aren't we? And I had some wonderful people. I've heard people say if you like your sponsor, you have the wrong sponsor. I hear that and I know I'm listening to an idiot. Idiot. I didn't like my sponsor, I loved him, and I love my sponsor today. You see, you were the very first people who helped me understand what my problem was. Because I don't know about any of you, but when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I did not know what was wrong with me. I didn't have a clue. Now, I had been told what my problem was. A lot of people told me what my wife told me what my problem was. The police told me what my problem was. Psychiatrists told me. Judges told me. I've been told for many, many years, Butch, just quit drinking. You were the first people that said, kid, drinking's not your problem. It's your solution. How I feel when I'm sober is my problem. I am restless, irritable, and discontent, and I have to drink again. You see, I don't have a choice whether I drink or not. That is what makes me alcoholic. I have lost the power of choice. An alcoholic of my type, not drinking and not treating alcoholism, and sitting in AA meetings does not treat alcoholism. That is the great myth that kills many alcoholics. The meetings are where the solution is. The meetings are where the fellowship is. The 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous treat alcoholism. So an alcoholic of my type sitting in AA meetings and not treating alcoholism, not having a sponsor, not doing this process, will get so restless, irritable, and discontent, sober, that I have to do one of two things. I don't have a choice. I have to do one or the other. I either have to drink again or blow my brains out. Most of us drink again. But we all know someone that's paid the supreme price, don't we? Huh? Didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue. And you told me that is what our program is about. That we take some actions here and start to apply spiritual principles to our life that will allow me to live happily and usefully whole. That will remove that obsession and allow me to live happily and usefully whole. What an incredible promise. In all the mayhem in my life, in all the destruction of my life, all I ever wanted was to be okay. And you told me that you had a design for living, that you had spiritual principles which were practiced as a way of life. Not talked about, not discussed and analyzed and studied, but if I would practice as a way of life, would remove that obsession and allow me to live a good life. Incredible promise. You told me that selfishness and self-centeredness was the root of my troubles. I had absolutely no idea. I had no idea. Now, I didn't do an inventory and go, my, you haven't been a very nice boy. I did not need to do an inventory to know I was a lying, cheating thief. An inventory is not a confession. An inventory is a fact-finding process. I did an inventory to find out some facts, some truths about my life. To help me see how self, the root of my trouble, manifests. You see, from that selfishness and self-centeredness comes 100 forms of fear and all my resentments, but all based in self. I didn't know that. And you told me I had to be rid of this selfishness or else it would kill me. And there seems no way of getting rid of it without God's help. And that is the purpose of our 12 steps. That is the purpose of this process. For me to find a power greater than myself that would solve my problem. My problem being self. I had no idea. I had no idea. And I thank God for strong sponsorship. I'm a believer in strong sponsorship. And I'm a guy that believes that without strong sponsorship, our chances of recovery are almost nil. That is what I believe from my experience. And I thank God the foundation that you gave me in Alcoholics Anonymous. You taught me what it meant to be a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. You taught me what it meant to be a participating member of a home group. You taught me what it meant to be an informed member of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I could go to my group conscience meeting, our business meeting, and not just put up my hand because Larry put up his hand. But I became an informed member of Alcoholics Anonymous. You encouraged me to read and start to have an understanding of our 12 traditions. Our 12 traditions are as much a deflator of ego as our 12 steps are. Our 12 traditions are as much a part of my life and my recovery as our 12 steps are. You encouraged me to read about our history. AA Comes of Age, Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers. Pass it on. You said, if you're going to spend your life in Alcoholics Anonymous, would you not like to know where we came from? Would you not like to know what was done on our behalf so you and I could have this beautiful weekend here in Wisconsin? And you gave me that foundation, and you started to take me through the process. One of the greatest disservices we do to new people is give them a book and say, here, go do this, and we kill them. We kill them. You see, I suffer from a disease, an illness of perception. At times, I cannot differentiate the truth from the false, drunk or sober. And you're going to see, self can't analyze self. Just can't work. Just can't work. I need you to help me through that process. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure you'd be happy to do so. But I think it says in our book at step 10 that by now, sanity will have returned. That must infer that up until that time, I'm operating from an insane position. I need your guidance. I need your experience. I need you to take me through this. And I thank God for that. And I'm not going to talk about that tonight, that process. Maybe sometime I can come back and do that. But thank God for that. And you took me through that. You took me through the amends process. What an incredibly freeing thing for a guy like me who'd been wrapped up in self his entire life. His entire life. I don't know about any of you, but I can tell you that for me, that my entire life, you see, when I went to school, they had the kids that did well in that. They joined the teams and the clubs. I hated them. I hated their guts. I hated them. I didn't know why then. I know why today. I didn't feel as good as those kids. That was the truth. Then they had the kids behind the school starting to smoke and drink and cutting up, and I hung out there because I felt a little sharper than most of those kids. But I'm going to tell you, my entire life, before coming to Alcoholics Anonymous, for a long time in Alcoholics Anonymous, and if I am not in fit spiritual condition today in Alcoholics Anonymous, the first thing I do with every man, woman that I meet, the very first thing I instinctually do is I size myself up to you. And every time, I'm either better than or less than. Never the same as. And that amends process, that forgiveness process, and being forgiven allowed me to just be one among many. Just one of God's kids, no better than, no less than. Just a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and can walk free on this earth and look you in the eyes. That is a freeing process for a guy who's been in the bondage of self his whole life without ever knowing it. Without ever knowing it. Didn't have a clue how selfish. I didn't understand how it manifested in my life. And you helped me see that. You helped me get free. And I love where it talks. I've listened to people debate in a meeting for 45 minutes whether they were recovered or recovering. Smoke starts coming out my ears. Huh? Our book is very, very clear about that. But I thank God you showed me in the book where it says it is easy to let up in a spiritual program of action and to rest on our laurels. And if we do, we're headed for trouble. Because we are not cured of alcoholism, not cured. What I have is a daily reprieve that's contingent upon the maintenance of my spiritual condition. And some days I think my spiritual condition is much better than it really is. Huh? I need that. It is easy to let up in that program of action. You know, it's an incredible thing. I sponsor a lot of men. I sponsor a lot of guys. A lot of guys. And I can spot in 1 minute when those guys are getting off track. 1 minute, just like that. I can hear in those little rats' voices. I hear those little rats. I hear it in the phone. He's lying. Just like that I see it. Just like that. But it's a funny thing. I don't see it so clearly in myself. It's like there's a thin veil there when it comes to me seeing me. That's why sponsors need sponsors. Self cannot treat self. Huh? And so I'm so terribly good. You see, I stay in fit spiritual condition by the actions that I take today. I cannot stay spiritually fit today because I used to be a GSR. I cannot stay spiritually fit today because I used to go to the detox. I cannot stay spiritually fit today because I used to work with new guys. I cannot stay spiritually fit today because I used to make coffee at my home group. I stay spiritually fit today by the actions that I take today. And I want to tell you that I am more in the center of Alcoholics Anonymous, more busier in Alcoholics than I've ever been in the last 25 years. Because let me tell you something. I have much more to lose today than I did the day I walked through those doors in 1989. I really and truly do. And I stay close with you. And you introduce me to a loving God. Man, oh man, oh man. Huh? Chuck Chamberlain used to say that we have one problem, and only one problem. And from that one problem comes all other problems. And that one problem is a conscious separation from God. If you'd have asked me when I come to Alcoholics Anonymous, I believe in God or not, I would have said to you, yeah, I believe in God. It had about as much meaning as my life as the price of coffee beans in Brazil. But I was not a disbeliever. But it had no meaning in my life, no purpose in my life. My idea of God was a guy way up in the sky. He's way up in heaven with long hair and a beard and a big stick. And if you're good things happen. If you're bad things happen. You're going to burn in hell for 1,000 years. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Huh? So if God's way up there and I'm down here, have you ever heard more of a conscious separation in your life? You were the first people that said to me that deep down inside of every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. And in the final analysis, it is only there that He can be found. And that the great reality of our lives is that our Creator has entered our hearts and lives in a way that is indeed miraculous. Incredible power. Incredible power. I discovered that power that came personal to me of my understanding by listening to your stories, by watching what you did. That's how I got that. That is why we tell our stories in Alcoholics Anonymous. That is the purpose, in our own language and from our own point of view, tell how we were able to find a higher power. And I listened to you, and I watched you. I watched your kind deeds, and I watched your actions. And you moved me through this process. You just kept moving me forward and allowed me to have my experience with God. I think sometimes today we think we can, mechanically spit people out the other end and they're done. It is a process. We have a spiritual experience. It's an interesting thing, isn't it? It's an interesting thing. I love Bill, and I love Bill's language in that. And we've all talked, we hear in many, many meetings, we hear people say about Bill's white light experience and that thing that I didn't have what Bill had, but I had this and that. Bill was an alcoholic. I sometimes wonder, the more times Bill told that story, the brighter the light got. Just saying. It was as though a warm wind blew. It was as if the room lit up. I sometimes think Bill's experience was no different than ours. You know that time? If you don't know, please keep coming, but many of you do. You know that time when we're sitting in a meeting or we're driving in our car and I'm driving down that road and I stick a little Leonard Skinner in there, playing a little Freebird. And I'm driving down that road and my eyes fill up with tears. And I know that there is a God. And I experience God. And it then becomes real. It is no longer information. It is experience. There is a very big difference in believing and being connected to power. And we connect into real power that starts to have meaning and purpose in our life. And at that point, Alcoholics Anonymous shifts from a self-searching thing to an outward thing. And I then start to practice these principles in my home occupations and affairs. And Alcoholics Anonymous starts becoming a way of life. And we start to grow an understanding effectiveness of carrying a message. And that becomes our real purpose. At some point, if Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm not talking about the young lady for her first meeting and those people here in their first year. I'm talking about people who have been sober for a period of years. If alcoholic doesn't shift from being a place where I come to give instead of a place where I come to get, I have missed what Alcoholics Anonymous is all about. I've missed it all about. 5 minutes? Okay, I better 5 minutes. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We got 6 minutes? 5. Okay, We've been blessed, haven't we? It says in our book that nothing ensures us immunity from drinking like intensive work with other alcoholics. When all else fails, this works. The occasional deed is not enough. Our very lives as ex-problem drinkers depends upon our constant thought of others. Unless I continue to enlarge and perfect my spiritual life through unselfish acts and helping others, I will surely drink when we hit those certain low spots. If you are here tonight and you've been sober for a year or 2 or 3 and everything's been going good in your life, buckle up. Buckle up. Because life will happen. Life will happen. And I better be connected to some power when it does. But we have been richly blessed, haven't we? We've listened to it all weekend long. We've been in one of the greatest experiences I've had in my AA life. We've been given much, haven't we? If that wasn't enough, you and I are then given the ability to change people's lives. That's not an ego statement. That is a statement of gratitude. That is a statement of humility. That you and I, when armed with facts about ourselves, that's what our 12 steps are doing. Arming us with facts about ourselves. Armed with those facts and have this solution, are able to make the difference in a few short hours when nobody else was able to. And until such an understanding happens, little or nothing can be done for that new alcoholic. We've been given incredible gift. It says in our book that alcoholics laugh at sometimes seemingly tragic situations. You ever wondered sometimes what visitors might think of us? Huh? I don't know if you do this here, but at home in Canada, when you get your 5-year or your 10-year, you get to pick the speaker and the players in the meetings and stuff. Some family come, maybe some people from their work come. Never been to AA before, don't know nothing about AA. Some monkey like me gets up here and says things like, yes, I bought a brand new Cadillac. I picked it up at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning and totaled it at 10. Ha 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 ha! We laugh. Told my wife I was going out for a loaf of bread. End up in Alaska. Come home 18 months later. Ha 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 ha! Joe! Laugh. I got a buddy of mine, Doug from California, talks about spilling a bottle of whiskey in his bed and then sucking it out of the sheets. Ha ha! We laugh. You ever wonder what those visitors might be thinking? It says we laugh at sometimes seemingly tragic situations. You know what it says after that? Of course you do. You read the book. It says, why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Because we have recovered. We have recovered and been given the power to help others. What an incredible gift. God's power, not my power. Incredible gift. My life before coming to Alcoholics Anonymous had absolutely no meaning or no purpose whatsoever. None. I don't know what your life was like. It's none of my business. But I was either drunk, planning on getting drunk, recovering from being drunk. In trouble, trying to get out of trouble, planning on more trouble. I worked all week so I could drink all weekend. Ideal so I can do. That's my life. And all the people in my life are the same. No meaning, no purpose in my life whatsoever. I go to a detox at home, been going there for 20-some-odd years. Not because I'm some saint, some wonderful human being. It's a way I've been taught. I'm the product of strong sponsorship. And I go there, and I talk there every Monday. And if I'm home on Sundays, we have a big speaker meeting at home, a couple hundred people every Sunday morning. I like to take new people to speaker meetings so they can listen. I happen to think it's good for new people to listen. I know it's not that fashionable today, but I happen to think it's good. Anyway, I go there one day. There's a guy in there, and he's in bad shape. I'm not talking hungover, detoxing. I'm talking bad. I thought this guy might die. He might not make it. So I figured to myself, well, he could die at the meeting as easy as he can die here. I mean, dying's dying. You got to do it somewhere. Let's go. Get in the car. So we went to the meeting. After the meeting, we spent a couple hours talking about this design for living that we have, this practical program action. I left him. I never saw him again. I'm sitting in a meeting one day. I see some guy coming across the room. I could see he's headed for me. Clean-cut looking guy, though. Had a shirt, pair of slacks on. Come walking up. He said, Butch, you probably don't remember me. I said, I'm sorry. I can't say that I do, but I meet a lot of people. He says, my name's Ziggy. I went, holy smokes. That's not really what I said, but that's what I'm saying here. He said, you remember me? I said, oh, I remember you. It's the guy. It's the guy, Jimmy, and he's looking good. Huh? And I said, yeah. He said, well, listen. He said, I haven't had a drink since you took me to that meeting that morning. It's almost been a year. I said, congratulations. He said, I was wondering if I can ask a favor of you. I said, if I can do it, I will. He said, would you come and talk at my 1-year AA birthday? I said, touch your heart. Aw. They cry at Al-Anon when I do that. I said I would be honored to come and do that. I went and talked to the group a handful of years ago. I got up to that room, big room full of people. I got up to the room. I started to cry. I couldn't get going. And I'll tell you why. I looked out, and there, sitting at the front table, in a suit and tie, looking like $1,000,000, with his wife and all his children, was Ziggy, and he was getting his 15-year medallion. Took him to his first meeting, talked at his 1-year, talked at his 5-year, talked at his 10-year, talked at his 15-year. You know where I was last summer? Ziggy's 20. You think my life... You think my life doesn't have meaning? You think my life doesn't have purpose? My life is so rich. It is so... I could stand up here for the next 2 hours. I'd be all alone, but I could do it. I could do it. Talking to you about the things that have happened in my life since I came to you. I have a wife at home that I love with all my heart. With all my heart. I'm going to tell you 1.5 stories. I promise 2 minutes, I'm out of here. I like watching the golf on TV, Jimmy. I love watching that. And I love watching on Sundays. I like watching the final day. And you know when the final pairing, the guy's got the lead, he's coming up the 18th and he's going to win and stuff. I love that. I was watching that golf one time. It was the Masters, and Phil Mickelson was winning. And he was in the 18th, he was walking up, and Phil Mickelson's wife had been going through cancer. Amy, beautiful blonde girl. And Phil Mickelson knew he'd won the Masters. He was walking up that 18th fairway with a few stroke lead, and he's walking, and the cameras went on to him, and his eyes were filling up with tears. And I'll tell you, it was taking everything he had in him to not fall apart. And they flashed to his wife with their 2 little girls standing there, and you saw the tears in her eyes. And I'm crying. And I turned to my Dee, and I looked at her. I said, Dee, I said, can you imagine how proud she must be of him? And my wife looked at me and said, I know exactly how she feels. I feel that way every time I see you stand at the front of one of those rooms. She said, Butch, that's a game. A wonderful game, but a game. This is people's lives we get to be a part of. Everything in my life that is good is because of Alcoholics Anonymous. Anything that I am or ever hope to be is because of you. If I lived 1,000 years, I could never pay you back. I only hope and pray that in some small, small way, my actions can reflect my gratitude to what you've done for me. You know, I don't know what's going to happen from here on in, and none of us know for sure, do we? You see, just because we become members of Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon, life doesn't stop happening. People die. Relationships end. Businesses fail. People get sick. Life still goes on. But I'll tell you something. Every single morning for many, many years, including first thing this morning, I say to my friend upstairs, I say, if you see fit, I sure would appreciate it if you keep me in Alcoholics Anonymous. Because my dear friends, my dear, dear friends, there is no place in this entire world I would rather be tonight than right here with you fine, fine people. Thank you, and God bless you.